You simply go to Zip Apply and you sign up for free, upload your resume. The AI will parse all the data, build your profile, even write your video resume script. And you can just take that script, record it on your phone, upload to YouTube, and paste a link so you can
Mhm.
control your video. And then everything that's purple on the site is AI. So
Hello, and welcome to Mornings with Joel, Commercial Real Estate Podcast, where we focus on rising stars and established players in commercial real estate and talk to them about how they are building legacies in today's marketplace. Hello, and welcome to the Mornings with Joel CRE Podcast. We're always excited to have you with us, and we want to thank you very much for joining us today. We have a very special guest and a good friend of mine, actually, today, Gus Cawley. And you might be saying, well, I thought this was a commercial real estate podcast. Why in the world are we talking to a guy that is a recruiter? Well, there's a very good reason. And to be perfectly honest, if you're in the commercial real estate space, it is quite possible that at some point in time you looked for a job. And so the skills and the techniques and the things that Gus brings to the table will blow your mind. And so I invited him on the show basically to talk about some of these things that he's done, and I think you'll get a lot of value out of today's meeting. So get your pen and paper together. There's going to be a lot of good points that you will certainly enjoy, and we look forward to your involvement therein. So, Gus, how you doing today, man? Good to have you.
doing great, bud. Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad I caught you off the golf course. I know I'm taking away from your tee time.
Well, they punched the greens this week, so I'm not missing anything.
Okay.
But I'm glad we have nicer weather. I'll tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's warming up a little bit, which is a good thing. So
yeah,
that's good. Yeah. So, hey, Gus, again, this is a commercial real estate podcast, but I invited you for a particular purpose, and I know the value that you bring and what you've been able to do. So give us a little background on yourself, who you are, your company, and what you do, and then we'll dive into some of the specifics as to why there's so much value here in what you're doing.
Sure. Yeah. I'm a CPA turned recruiter 28 years ago, and I've been getting people jobs since 1998. I came out of Ernst & Young and started recruiting for a large national company, had a lot of success, went out on my own, built and sold a company, and started a few more along the way. And I did specialize or I do, as well as placing commercial real estate accounting professionals, and as well as tax and audit and everything from soup to nuts for your transactional accounting up to your CFO, and work with public accounting firms. And been through pandemics and recessions and crazy markets, and it's amazing, still standing after all these years. But,
Yeah.
it's been a good ride, that's for sure.
Exactly. Let me tell the audience a little background here. Gus is one of my homies, so let me just be clear about that. And one thing that we used to do back in the day during the great financial crisis, we would get together and kind of have this little powwow session, if you will, with a few other people and kind of just try to talk through strategies and other things and try to figure out how do we get through this mess. Yeah. Remember those days, man? Because it's like your business was cratering, mine was cratering. It was crazy.
Yeah, I remember that was back when video marketing was really popular, and we got you on the front page of Google. Remember that?
Yeah. That's right. That was a while ago.
All these different strategies. Now there's AI and everything.
Yep, exactly. And we both made it through. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So, and then
back
also
the days when you had the radio show.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Gus was, just for you guys to know, one of our highest rated guests on the radio show. And it was a fantastic show. That was back on WCFO back in the day.
Yeah.
When we were broadcasting during the crisis.
News Talk 1160.
Yep. Absolutely. And then you went on and had your own show for a while.
Yeah, thanks to you.
Hey, well, it's all good, man. We help one another.
That's right. That's right.
Good. Yeah. So those were the days. But yeah, so just to catch everybody up. So you've been obviously soup to nuts in the industry. You know what you're doing. You've been around. What do you say, or what would you say are some of the greatest things that people are not looking to implement when it relates to them finding work that you would encourage them to implement? What are some of those things that they're just kind of missing the ball on, would you say?
Well, I got to tell you, I always say that nobody can sell you better than you, right? Good so point. You got to bang your own drum, and you can't put all your eggs in one basket and, just hope that someone else is going to help you. You kind of need to be aggressive with the way you market yourself in your outreach. And so I'm a big fan of the video resume. And I was just working with
Mhm.
your sons,
Mhm.
and your sons have both created the video resume. And, you know, the whole thing is with the millions of people looking for work today, and in this job market, you can see tens of thousands of people are losing their jobs from the big companies. And
Mhm.
it's the AI, it's kind of like this environment. It's low hire, low fire. People are staying with their jobs. So you gotta basically, my philosophy is you just make a 30-second video resume clip highlighting, who you are and what you bring to the table. And then we package that up. And I built a platform called zipapply.com that allows you to do all that for free. And then I provide you with millions of contacts that you can reach out to with their corporate email addresses and the LinkedIn, and just start reaching out and following up with a call and just kind of giving them your elevator pitch.
Wow, wow. So let's highlight that because that's a big point. You created this platform. It's called Zip Apply. It's free,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You can post your video resume, and then you also give all the contact information of the people that you would really like to contact for work.
Yeah.
Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah. Yeah. I've been building this database since day one. And I got to tell you, in the US, I think we're over 16.5 million profiles in the US.
Wow.
Plus, there's over a million profiles outside the US. And you simply go to Zip Apply and you sign up for free, upload your resume. The AI will parse all the data, build your profile, even write your video resume script. And you can just take that script, record it on your phone, upload to YouTube, and paste a link so you can
Mhm.
control your video. And then everything that's purple on the site is AI. So you can do a zip code radius around. That's the other thing. In Atlanta or in the US, the average commute time is 30 minutes each way. So that's an hour a
Okay.
day. That's 5 hours a week, right?
Hmm.
That's over 6 weeks a year commuting. So I think most people commute because they don't know what companies are close to where they live. If they
Right.
did, they'd be working at those companies instead of commuting, right? Putting all that wear
Okay.
and tear and miles. And I mean, what would you do with an extra 6.5 weeks of time, right? If you just
Yeah.
found a
Yeah.
job closer to home.
Wow.
So you can do a zip code radius in the software, and you can put in the title of the person that would hire you. If you don't know, we have a job seekers community with all these GPTs. You can even put in your title and it'll tell you the titles of the hiring managers that would hire you. And then you just pull them up and you can build a list and save it. And then you can click on the person's profile and it gives you their email address. And on the right of their email address, it says compose with AI, and it'll actually personalize the outreach letter from you to the person with the elements of your background and their background from their LinkedIn that we already have in the system.
Wow.
And you can send it through your Gmail client or your regular email client. And you can even schedule it to go out, because I think most people, if you can schedule your emails to go out around 7 to 8 a.m. in the morning, you can hit the decision maker before they get busy with someone
Hmm.
calling them or standing in their doorway. And you can just, it's a numbers game. You can send your video resume profile, which has everything about you and your wow presentation, and follow up with a call and just keep doing it, because you got to be aggressive, but you can't be the best kept secret in town.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I started filming video resumes back in 2007. I went to an internet marketing conference.
Hmm.
And the guy on stage said, "Hey, if you can apply video to your business, you can give yourself a huge advantage in the marketplace." I'm like, "Well, how can I do that? Hey, how about video resumes?" So I
Hmm.
came back, and we didn't have teleprompters or anything. And I had a tax accountant come in, and we had him create a video resume, and I sent it out. And I think I had 13 leads within an hour of
Wow.
hiring managers that wanted to interview the guy. And I'm like, okay, we're on to
Yeah.
something.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, yeah. So now with
Yeah.
now with everything AI, we even write the video script and you can just record it right on YouTube, and we make it so simple for everybody.
Yeah.
And we give it all away for free. Yeah.
Impressive, Gus. Very, very impressive. So it seems like it does so much of the work for you that it's, I'm not going to say it's idiot proof, but if you have the AI doing a lot of the background work, so you're putting in the right words and terminology, it's incredible, how you can do that and stay away from saying something stupid that might get you locked out the door.
Well,
You know.
I believe less is more. So the other thing is you only need to do a 30-second video introduction because no one's going to watch it,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And they're not even going to get that far. But bottom line is, if someone watches your video profile and they want to interview you, they've already met you virtually. All you have to do is prepare for the interview. That's
Right.
it. Because they've already met you.
Yeah.
And so you just go and we have in our school community, which is skool.com/job seekers. Well, in that job seekers community, we have interview prep GPTs. All you got to do is upload your resume and it starts asking you questions about your background specifically. And then I got a 10-minute interview prep video that I put out there. And when I first started recruiting, I had qualified candidates that were more than qualified that would go interview, but they wouldn't get the offer. And I found out they were talking themselves out of their jobs. And the more
Mm.
people, I've noticed a trend that in the interview, the more people think the more they talk, the greater the probability they're going to get the offer. But that's not the way it works,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. So you mentioned something else that I thought was interesting, and I know you've been promoting this for a while, so I want to talk about that. That 10-minute video prep that you put out.
Yeah.
I think that's really valuable because when people see that, and like you said, a lot of times people think if they just keep talking, the person's going to just get wore down and say, all right, you got the job, right? But it really doesn't work that way. They kind of go brain dead and then start to ignore you, and now you're in a worse situation. So
Right.
at least
Right.
that's the way it appears. So what does the prep actually do for you that they wouldn't find other places?
Okay. So here's the deal. If you're a job seeker and you're not getting interviews, then there's something wrong with your resume. But if you're getting interviews and you're not getting offers, then there's something wrong with what's
The fit?
happening inside the interview,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So just real quick, you can tell based on, hey, well, if I'm not getting interviews, then my resume sucks. Or I am getting interviews, then what I'm doing, I'm talking myself out of the job. So in the 10-minute video, it's just real straightforward. We covered simple questions that the employers ask that trip most people up. Just real simple questions like, hey, tell me about yourself. And that's what we cover in that 30-second resume that you create on Zip Apply. By the time you make a really good video that you want to share, you're going to make it probably several times.
Mhm.
Well, that 30-second resume is going to be burned in your brain, right?
Right.
Hi, my name is Joel Miller. And, you go from there. So once you get past that, like, what's your greatest strength? What's your biggest
Mhm.
weakness? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Intelligent questions to ask the decision maker, right? How do you see me fitting in based on our conversation thus far? Do you have any questions or concerns that might eliminate me from consideration for this opportunity? Now, that's a
Mhm.
great question because
That's a great question.
if
Yeah.
they do, they're going to address it right there. If they
Yeah.
have concerns and you leave the interview, you're done.
Yeah.
Thanks for playing. Do not pass go. Do not collect
You
$200.
wonder what happened, but you have no idea
Exactly.
what was the issue. But if you put that on the table, then you know what you have to basically say to combat that.
Yeah. So I love, so hey, what's my greatest challenge going to be? What's a typical day like? That kind of stuff. You never really want to ask a question that you could find the answer for on the company website to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, a lot of people don't even prepare. They don't even
Yeah.
go. It's crazy. I mean, it'll blow
Yeah.
your mind. But
Yeah.
anyway, when you get in there after, what are you looking for in terms of salary? I don't want to price myself out of this opportunity. I'm sure whatever you had in mind is more than fair. If they press you for a number, speak in ranges, right? you know but as you wrap up the interview, they're going to say, hey, Joel, do you have any more questions for me? And you'll say, based on our conversation today, do you have any questions or concerns that might eliminate me from consideration for
Mm.
this opportunity? And then you just listen.
Yeah.
And that's where they'll kind of give you the answers to the test. No, everything's great. Okay. Then you'd say, well, I'm extremely interested. What's the next step in the process?
Mhm.
Right? You just kind of ask them.
Right. Kind of walking them along.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And if they do have concerns, you'll address them right there because a lot of times they do. The employer does, and then you can just address those concerns and then overcome the objection. And then, hey, what's the next step in the process? I'm extremely interested. And you just go from there. And then the other thing is, once you get out of the interview, you want to get their contact information, but you want to send them a thank you letter. And we have a thank you letter GPT that's really
Okay.
good because it'll say, hey, who did you interview with? What's the person's name? Was there anything in the interview that you want to highlight? Maybe they're on Sage Intacct software and you've implemented it, or they're about to implement it, or they're going to
Yeah.
do a system selection. You can cover that. Or maybe there's multi-entity accounting, like, hey, I've done multi-entity, or real estate, I've got CAM reconciliation experience, I've got Yardi or MRI, whatever it is. And you'll highlight that and you'll send the email. But what I like to do is send a handwritten note. You
Okay.
go down to Publix or go to Amazon, you get these thank you letters, write a handwritten note and pop it in the mail. So in 3 days, that's going to show up. So you're going to be politely persistent, staying top of mind in the process, standing out, because no one is going to send a handwritten note, right?
Yeah. Soul school.
Yeah. Well, there's a book called Giftology. And in that book, it
Yeah.
says the
Yeah.
greatest gift you can give someone is a handwritten note. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a powerful point. How many follow-ups do you think is appropriate in a situation like that? So you do the handwritten note. What about after that?
You got to bang your own drum. Of course, you got to follow up. It's like cold email. With cold email, I actually hired a cold email coach.
Okay.
And he's like, Gus, you got to call at least 5 times and email at least 5 times. You have got to be aggressive. In fact, Joel, I ended up early in my career working for Ernst & Young, and I had to follow up with Ernst & Young over and over and over. I eventually got the job. And then I went and I interviewed my college roommate. Said, hey, man, I think you'd be a great recruiter. And he was working for a large national firm at the time.
Yeah.
And so he got me an interview. And they didn't want to hire me. They're like, we like to place Big Four people, but we really don't.
Yeah.
We don't want to hire you. And I was relentless. I followed up. And I was working out of town 100% of the time. I was traveling. I was doing a Y2K implementation in Charleston, and I kept following up and following up and following up. And I wouldn't go away. Eventually got the job. And then,
Okay.
but you got to be aggressive.
Gotcha. So yeah, I see there's nothing wrong with being aggressive. Obviously you're being nice about it, but
I
you
call it
have
being
to do it.
politely persistent.
Right. That's a good way to look at it. Politely persistent.
Well,
Right.
people are busy.
Yeah.
A lot of hiring managers have an approved job requisition, right? The job's been approved.
Mhm.
They can hire, but they're just busy and they don't want to go through the process.
Yeah.
And it's in their top drawer. And so they got approval.
Yeah.
So what I always say is my strategy is, listen, 80% of jobs come from networking, right? And 80% of jobs are not posted. So all those jobs you see on LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter only represent 20% of all the available jobs.
Wow. No, I never
80%
knew
of
that.
jobs. Yeah. So the Zip Apply strategy is just a networking. And we give you the tools to do that. But you got to be aggressive. You've got to get out there and just reach out and then follow up with a call.
Okay.
Hey, Joel, this is Gus. I noticed you're not too far from me, and I think my background would line up nicely with your company. I just sent you over my resume, my video resume profile, and I just wanted to follow up just to make sure you got it. If you have any questions, give me a call. 555-555-5555.
Yeah.
You got to do that.
Good. I hear you. Gus, we're going to take a quick minute commercial sponsor break. We're a couple minutes past that, and then we will be right back here on the Mornings with Joel CRE Podcast.
Step into the future with EcoCrypt, a platform unifying decentralized finance with real-world utility, where value flows freely. From gaming achievements to real-world assets, everything can be tokenized, fractional, and accessible in one trusted ecosystem. For gamers, investors, and global communities, EcoCrypt is breaking down barriers and democratizing finance. Join the revolution. Visit ecocryptusa.com today.
The Impact Air 99. We asked real people, try the Impact Air 99.
Breathable, light, but protective.
Feels very comfortable wearing it. It looks cooler.
It's almost surprising how much air you can get in.
Engineered with 6 layers of nanoscreen technology that blocks over 99% of viruses and bacteria while allowing you to breathe freely and speak clearly.
My glasses are not fogging up.
I could wear this all day.
All right, welcome back to the Mornings with Joel CRE Podcast. We're talking with Gus Cawley of Staff Financial and just going through some of the details on how to be effective in the job search field. And one thing I just wanted to pick up on, Gus, before we move on to the next thing is you mentioned about the handwritten note. That's kind of the first thing going out after the interview. What process would you say is good to follow up after that? Is it emails, more handwritten notes? Would you ever stop by? I've heard of people stopping by the company, and what would you say is the next process to try to nail this down? In addition, in the persistence.
I would not stop by.
Okay.
Would you like someone to stop by your place unexpectedly?
No.
No, neither would they.
Okay. Just
Right.
asking. I haven't looked for a job in a long time, so I'm just
I
asking.
wouldn't stop by. I'd only send one thank you or handwritten note.
Okay.
And then I might just touch base, or I might just share an article with somebody. And I mean, all you can do is all you can do, right? You
Yeah.
just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, you're, and I want to talk a little bit about this, the community that you've built. I think there's a lot of value with that because, it goes back to the old principle that, people tend to work with people that they know, like, and trust, right? And so if you are able to get a little background on the person that you're hoping to interview with, and you have that information in the community, it seems like that would kind of grease the skids, if you will, to getting in and having that meeting, or maybe even mentioning something or send them an article of something that they're interested in. They're a dog lover, or they love antique cars, or whatever it is. I mean, have you found that those type of things actually make sense to do?
Yeah. Or even if they share something online, right?
Okay.
You can like it, share it, comment on it, right?
That's easy. Yeah.
Yeah. You could see if you can find the hiring manager. If it's a company you really like, if you could find a hiring manager on Facebook, maybe you notice that they like to ski, or that they were just out skiing. You could just say, or they're a Hawks fan or a Braves fan. You have something in common. Just, it's kind of the same way when you get in the interview.
Yeah.
My son just had an interview for an internship with a CPA firm.
Mhm.
And I said, hey, when you get in the office, look around, see what the hiring manager likes, see if he's got, kids, if there's pictures of him and his kids, what does he do for fun? Ask him, like you said, people want to work with people that like, and trust. It's the same. And just like the internet, it's the school community. They say the internet's becoming basically a group of communities. Like, people are getting off the social media sites and they're kind of morphing towards the community of people that like the same things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Good point. So just to kind of recap this session here. So you basically have Staff Financial is is that the umbrella company for the most part, and all of
No.
the different silos underneath it? How is that?
Basically, it's North Point Search Group. So
Okay.
I sold an accounting and finance recruiting firm, had a non-compete. So I started a law staff group. Non-compete ended, started Staff Financial. Then we got a lot of requests for candidates outside of accounting and legal. So I started North Point, which is kind of be everything outside of accounting and legal. But then I had to do 3 tax returns and 3 business licenses, triplicate of everything. So we just consolidated everything under North Point Search Group.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so for the person looking for work, the first step you would say is go to Zip Apply, shoot your video resume, and what's some of those other steps, just to kind of recap that?
Well, there's a new software out there.
Okay.
It's called clay.com. Clay.com. And if you're a job
Clay,
seeker,
CLAY.
yeah. If you're a
Okay.
job, this is gold. This
Okay.
is
All
gold.
right.
So if you're a job seeker, you can go out and you can type in what you're looking for, and it searches all of LinkedIn,
Oh,
brings you back all the jobs. You with me? And that's all free. You can export that into an Excel spreadsheet. If you want to put you can connect your chat GPT to it, and you can go down the rabbit hole in learningclay.com. But I don't think you need to do that. I think you could find the hiring companies on Clay, and then you can go to Zip Apply and then find the hiring managers and do the outreach. The other thing is, have you used Claude, that AI?
no, I
Claude?
haven't used Claude.
Okay, so I've been banging around on Claude, and just in the past few weeks, they created this Claude Cowork, and wow, I will say to it, hey, you can create a skill on Claude. So you can just say,
Mm,
hey, what I'd like you to do is go out to Indeed every day and go out to LinkedIn every day. And I want you to pull all the job openings for tax managers in the Atlanta area. And it'll do it and it'll bring it back. And you
mm,
can say, okay, put it on an Excel spreadsheet and then boom, and it'll do all that. So you
wow.
can use Claude to go find the jobs online that are specific to your background. And you can also use clay.com. Real easy. You can even research companies on there. So you could say, hey, can you give me everybody in the commercial real estate industry with 10 to 50 people and from 50 to 200 people? So, bam, those are companies that probably don't have big HR departments that you could go out and provide value to very quickly that probably have needs.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. When you get bigger companies, they usually have corporate HR departments and they just want to keep you out, right?
yeah. So you got to work around the gatekeeper in those situations.
Yeah, well, I think honestly, it just for what I do, if you're looking for, and I don't know what your perfect avatar is,
Mhm.
but the company's less than 200 people, they could probably use your help, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know they could use mine. And for a job seeker, you could do the same thing.
Mhm.
You can instead of going looking for jobs, you could look for companies with the company sizes and then reach out that way.
Yeah,
Yeah. Clay lets you look for companies. They let you look for jobs. They research people, hiring managers at those companies. They do it all for you. It's 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 awesome. I
wow.
wish I had that 20 years ago. I can tell you that.
Yeah, yeah. I believe me. So really, it's. I think the main thing here is you almost don't know what you don't know. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of tools out there that can help people find employment, but they just don't know where to go and how to find this information.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's changing so fast and it's constantly changing. But one thing is
yeah,
constant. You got to bang your own drum. You got to sell yourself and you got to really be proactive. The proactive. I just talked to a lady the other day. She's like, hey, Gus, I've been looking since last October. I spend 2 hours every morning on LinkedIn and I've applied for over 300 jobs and I've got
mm,
nothing.
wow.
And I said, well, hey, go check out Zip Apply. You
Hmm.
can do a zip code around your house, build your video resume profile, and take it from there. And this was 10 days ago. And guess what?
Guess what?
She still has not done her video resume profile.
Okay.
You know why?
Why?
People don't want to be on video. People hate the way they look on video.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, it replaces the first interview. So if you only have to create one video, right?
Hmm.
It's gonna, the first one's gonna suck, the next one's gonna be better, and about the seventh
Yeah.
video, you're gonna have a video you can keep. But
Right.
then you're also gonna perfect that elevator pitch. Like if someone says, "Hey Joel, tell me about yourself," whether it be in a Zoom, in a face-to-face interview, or on a phone interview,
Mm-hmm.
usually starts with "Tell me about yourself." So you're gonna
Yeah.
perfect that in the
That's a
process.
good point. Yeah. Very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when we were working with your sons, they had 3-page resumes. I'm like, no, 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 no. We got to get that down to one page. And we
Yeah.
put it in the GPT. And within 10 minutes, we had something they were happy with, right?
Yeah. 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 What I thought was amazing also is and I think it's in the Zip Apply platform, the idea to basically do the mock interviews. We haven't talked about that in so much detail on this not interview on this podcast, but talk to me about the mock interviews because I think that was an outstanding feature of the platform.
Well, like I was telling you, my son, he just interned. Well, he just interviewed for his
Hmm.
internship, right?
Right.
So he's a junior accounting major. And so I had him role playing with those mock interviews. And then he'd come sit down and talk to me.
Yeah.
And then I'd go and I'd interview him and he was doing great. And then after he went through that and he had gotten that, right? He knew the questions to ask. I'm like, okay, now let's just kind of be real. Like, people want to work with people they know, like, and trust. When you get in there, just see what the hiring manager likes to do. Does he like college football? He went to Georgia. Ask him about Georgia. Does he ever go to the national championship games, right? And I said, just break it down to like if you're having a beer, you're going out, you're golfing, just get into that kind of conversation.
Sure.
Obviously, once someone has the technical skills, and most people who are applying have the technical skills, it's all about the soft skills,
Mm-hmm.
right? You got to get to the soft skills, but you got to be on your A game too, right?
Yeah.
Right. Most people, like we said, talk themselves out of their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So we get less is more. We got to have intelligent questions to ask the hiring manager, but you're not a Wall Street analyst, right? You just ask some simple questions,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. And just be personable. And then you'll eventually find something that you both have in common, and then you'll go down that road.
Yeah. Then you build on that. Yeah. So that mock interview platform, is that in the Zip Apply? From what I remember, it was, right? So you go in there, once you get everything set up, you can actually do the, because I think there was, and kind of walk me through it for the sake of our audience. Was it like 10 different modules or something? I mean,
So what I did was I built this. I created a challenge called the
Okay.
Get Hired Challenge. Day one, do this. So when you go to the school, skool.com/job seekers, when you go to the school community, you click on the classroom, and the first, and it's in these little squares. And the first square is, take the challenge, take the Get Hired Faster challenge. And day one, where you're going to create your video resume script and record it. Day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. And it's got all the GPTs that you're going to need on each day. So it's really organized. But we have 3 different interview GPTs. One, there's a guy in a brown suit, and that's just like your simple interview GPT. But larger companies like to do behavioral interview type interviewing. So like Cox, Coca-Cola, Home Depot. So give me a situation, task, action, result. It's called the STAR interview process. We got a whole GPT for that. And it actually will go into your resume and suggest a situation, task, action, result based on your resume, right?
Okay.
So it gives you the answers to the test. And then there's a third GPT in there for the C-level person that's interviewing, where they can actually control the interview by the questions they ask. So they can take that interview down the road they want to take it down. Pretty cool.
Wow. Man, that's all in this platform. I mean, that's incredible, Gus. I know you've been working on it for a while, so that's.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are getting jobs, and it's all goodwill, right?
Yeah.
And we got people from not just the US, but outside the US. And, there's video testimonials right on the front screen in the About section. And you can just see people talking about it like, hey, Gus, I didn't use Zip Apply to get my job. I actually had already been down the road, but I used the school community in the interview prep to actually land a remote job because this lady had kids and she'd been looking for a while. But I actually, then there was another, and there's some Q&As you can watch, some Zoom calls. And there was a lady that called back in, and she's like, oh my God, I got like a $10,000 more than I expected because I watched your interview prep video. I'm like, there you go.
Well,
Because if you name a number, when they say, hey, what are you looking for in terms of salary? And you say, hey, I'm looking for 65,000. Guess what? You're only going to get 65
at best.
Right. So you could say, hey, I'm looking for upper 60s to low 70s. Now, what if they gave you a $72,000 base, and if you took 65 and you got a 3% raise, that's only $2,000. Like, it would take you what? 4 or 5 years to get to that 72, right? 67, 69, 70, 3+ years, 4 years to get to that. So I could say I can save you 4 years of working and get you that money that you're going to make it for you get it now.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense all day long. Yeah.
I got my former boss from Ernst & Young
Uh-huh.
$100,000 raise.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. He bought.
How crazy.
He redid his whole cellar, bought a big screen TV. This is a long time ago, but these strategies really, really work.
Wow, that's big stuff. Let's do this before we jump into the next thing. I want to talk about SageData. So let's tee that up for our final segment. We're going to take a quick 20-second commercial break, and we will be right back. Thank you so much for being with us today.
SageData is your automated recruiting hub for any size organization. The concept is simple. If you have lists of prior applicants, SageData will clean, update, and convert those lists into digital resume profiles that are searchable. You can also post unlimited jobs in the system, and our AI will automatically search the database and bring back potential candidates for you. Head over to sagedata.io.
How do you build a company that lasts? One with a solid foundation that gets better with time, transforming the first dollar in your bank account into something more, building a product, a team, a culture, expanding to new countries, currencies, and customers, and accessing the capital you need to grow. How do you do all of that? With powerfully smooth banking that keeps you focused on bringing your vision to life.
Welcome back. Mornings with Joel CRE Podcast. We're talking here with Gus Cawley of SageData Financial. Excited to have him with us today. And Gus, you know, we were talking about before we went to break, all the value that you can get from Zip Apply. You give this stuff away for free, and how it's enabled even your old boss at Ernst & Young to get $100,000 more in his next job. And it's just incredible things that you've been able to accomplish with this platform. But I know you got another baby that you're working on, and it's called SageData. So SageData.io, I believe.
Yes, Sage.
Tell us a little bit about that, and what, because I don't see how you could get any better. I mean, I'm almost sounding like an infomercial, but
Well,
I mean, this is some incredible stuff.
yeah. So I got to tell you, everyone's like, well, why do you get how do you monetize Zip Apply? How can you give that all away for free? Well, it's the other side of the coin. It's SageData, and this is for the employers that are looking to hire. Okay. So the biggest challenge for employers is like they don't proactively go hire. They're more reactive with their hiring. And so you take a typical employer, if you post a job, on average, 250 people apply for your job, right? 6 people get called in for the interview. 1 person gets the offer. Well, what do you do with all the 249 people that didn't get the job?
Right.
Those people do nothing. It just falls through their hands like sand. Just nothing. But what about this number 2 candidate, number 3 candidate? I mean, they had to be good, right? You brought them in. So my strategy is kind of like, hey, what if you could upload all those people that have applied online, and then next time you go to hire, you can post the job, and then the system goes out and matches the candidates who've applied in the past and brings you back your perfect fit. The other thing about, okay, when I first started recruiting, this is back in the days when I first started recruiting, we didn't have computers on our desks, and we used a fax machine.
Yep.
And my boss would yell at us. He's like, you mean you got to go fax a resume? You couldn't articulate the candidate's value over the phone and get them an interview with no piece of paper, no resume? I'm like, no. But sometimes I did that. But anyway, along the way, the resumes were constantly going out of date. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. So I built a self-updating database, which is SageData. So let's just say, Joel, you're working at Home Depot, and then you end up going over to Coca-Cola. Well, we have the email patterns we've got over 1.5 million companies in our company database with the email patterns. We got everything about the companies, the revenue when they were started, the internal directories that you all have access to. And what happens is it'll infer the email pattern, validate the email, and drop it right into your record. So say you go to hire, and in 3 years, you need to hire for that same role again.
Right.
Well, you can go in and find the people that have applied in the past, right? The other thing that SageData does, it allows you to post a job, and then you can go post your job all over the internet, right? So this is kind of like a recruiting hub. You'd start here, you would route all the applicants from all the different, you could post on LinkedIn, Indeed, Jazz HR, ZipRecruiter, route all the applicants to one place, and then you'll post your job there, and then you'll have your required skills that you're looking for, the must-haves, and then the desired.
Okay.
And what happens is we have AI review each applicant that comes in based on your criteria, and we score it against your job. And then we say, hey, if they're 70% or better, they're right here in this little folder called the key matches, the key criteria matches. Boom. So you don't have to go through 250 people. You could just go through the top few. And so it keeps you working at your highest level of productivity. But some people that might apply for one job might be good for another job down the road, right? So say you're looking for a construction project coordinator, and in 3 years they're now like a construction project manager. You need a manager, or maybe they need Procore or whatever software. Or in real estate, maybe you need a commercial real estate property accountant,
Sure.
right? Or a property manager and with Yardi and whatnot. You can keep everybody in one place. If all this did was help you make one hire and not have to pay a recruiter, wouldn't it be worth it? Yeah. Yeah. So I know people don't like to pay recruiters, it's just they don't like to go through 250 resumes too. They don't have time. But anyway, we give with Sage Data, you can try it for free. So get out and post your job. So you create your job in Sage Data, and then each job posting, it'll give you a specific email address specifically for that job. And then when you go post on LinkedIn, you can route all the resumes to that email address, and they'll all get funneled right to Sage Data. And you can try it for free, right? And what we do is we basically take all that friction away, and you're only looking at qualified candidates. Plus, you're not starting from scratch, because when you post your job, you can search the other 16.5 million people we have already in there, and you find the exact candidates, and then you can put them on a list and then copy them right into your job. And now you're not starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Right? And it allows you to export everything in an Excel file with LinkedIn URLs. And so then you can start reaching out on LinkedIn, or you can find a tool to reach out on LinkedIn, and just kind of like, even if you're not hiring now, but you had your perfect audience, your perfect ideal audience, you could just start outreach on LinkedIn, just start connecting with, and we give you inside, we have a school community called Recruiting Secrets. So it's school.com, SKOOL.com/recruiting secrets. And there's an automation tool that you can use to just reach out to these people. So when you're ready to hire, you already have a bench, right? You've already established a relationship. They know who you are. Yeah.
No, I think that's incredible. So really what you've done here is you've positioned yourself on both sides of the table for the most part. So you have the people looking for work, they're using Zip Apply. You have the employers that actually are posting jobs on Sage Data. And it's not my world, so I really don't think about it too much. But I could imagine, for the times where I have hired in the past, you're talking about if you got 250 resumes, it's just a daunting task. You don't even want to start going through it, and then trying to read all of that and figure out who, what, where, when. It's just way too much. So to have a platform like this that could kind of streamline it just sounds incredible. And then, like you said, prepare for the next person also, because if somebody's made your top 5, then keep them on hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, you can, a lot of these job boards that this is gold. This is gold, Joe. So a lot of these job boards allow you to export anybody who's ever applied in a CSV format.
Okay.
You can go over to Sage Data and import that CSV file, and it builds digital profiles instantly from our big data provider if they're not already in there, right?
Wow.
And so what it does, then you can actually import the resumes as well. If you can just forward the resume. So if someone came in, you could forward the resume to that specific email address I was telling you about for that job. And it builds digital profiles instantly. It even tells you where they live. You can click a button and map and see how far they are from your office. Maybe the last person left because of the commute, right?
Yeah, could be.
Yeah. So it also works for sales, right? So a lot of people, they use Zoom Info and all these tools, and they buy all these lists. What do they do with the lists they buy? Nothing, right? They eventually just get lost in their email. Like I talked to a hiring manager at a boutique CPA firm that I was working with, and she's like, hey, we just spent $10,000 for 3 job postings for 4 months on LinkedIn. We got 275 candidates. We didn't make one hire.
Wow.
I said, well, what'd you do with all the resumes? She goes, well, they're scattered amongst all of our emails and we got to organize them in one place and blah, blah, blah. They're never, that was just kind of like, if they don't keep that data, then what's the point? I love data. I have made placements. I've been doing this for like 28 years, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing that makes you smile more than placing somebody who applied like 5 years ago, because you could just search the database and there they are.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, wow. And that happens all the time. It's, I've got over 3 million resumes, and, in this game that I'm playing, you need that. I mean, it's a race against time. When a client calls you, it's like having an egg timer, because not only am I I'm trying to help that client, but that client's also, they're posting jobs out online. They're working with other people. And so I got to be better, faster, and quicker than my competitor, or I'm going to get eaten alive.
Yeah.
It's a race.
Yeah, it's incredible. I'm actually sitting here listening to you, and I'm thinking it's almost like the Middle East, from the standpoint of a lot of these countries are realizing that fossil fuels are going to run out at some point. We can't live off of oil forever, so we have to start doing something else. And in your case, you're saying, okay, I know people really don't like to work with a recruiter. They try to get around it if they can. So why don't I create the technology that everybody will want to use to provide this value to both sides of the table? So even if it gets to that point where people are like, I don't use a recruiter because of AI, you've got the AI platform that brings all the value to the table.
Yeah.
I mean,
Plus,
it's incredible. Yeah.
It's a resume vault.
Right.
You can go back. So say somebody in your audience is watching this, right? And they had like an account on, I don't know, one of these job boards forever. They can just go and export the CSV file. So if someone applied 10 years ago, they're going to upload them into my system, and they're going to get where the person is today.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Wow.
I mean, it takes like a minute, but then you'll have that, and it becomes your self-updating database. Never start from scratch every time you need to hire. You can leverage the people that have applied in the past. And so I'll run an ad online on LinkedIn for a controller CPA, and I'll get someone who's not even close. They're not even in the zip code of what I need. But eventually, I might have a need for that person, and I'll have them.
Yeah.
And I'll be able to put my fingers on them very quickly and then do the outreach. And we also provide all the AI written outreach emails. So you can click on the candidate and click on the contact, the purple button. Everything that's AI is purple, AI outreach, and it'll write a recruiting letter for you. And then you can customize it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can
incredible.
rank the candidates 2 to 5. We offer a team feature, so you can have your whole team commenting and collaborating on the hire. So somebody could be on a plane flying to California, and you can be in Atlanta, and you can have someone remote in Chicago, and you can all collaborate. And this way, nothing gets, everything keeps moving. Nothing gets stagnant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's huge, man. I mean, you've got so many of the bases covered, and we're getting close to time here, but I want to talk to you because I see applications for our industry at a greater scale as well. And, I'll definitely be getting up with you on that. You know what? Maybe I'll take that 4-hour drive to your golf course up there and your private club, and we'll get a chance to play again.
Come on.
You know, I just can't forget the last time I was up there, man, with the helicopters flying in and landing on the course, and can I play through? It's like, yeah, okay, guy. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That was crazy, man. Oh boy, that
Special.
was something. Yeah. But we'll talk more about that. But yeah, man. So as we wrap up for today, what would you want our audience to take away from this discussion? Let's say first the person is looking for work. What do you want them to know, and what should be their very first thing that they do, or steps that they should take in order to start finding work?
Go out to zipapply.com, upload your resume,
Bottom line.
and get started. And then, honestly, create a video resume profile.
Yeah.
Get over yourself. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. If you make a video and you upload it to your profile and you send it to an employer and they want to talk to you, they've already met you. All you got to do is focus on interview prep. That's it.
Right.
You can't be the best kept secret in town, and you got to be aggressive.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, and this is kind of an obvious question, but how would percentage wise would you say is the value that you get from having a video resume than just a piece of paper resume? By comparison, would you say that those video resumes draw 10 times more, 5 times, 1 time? I mean, any data on that? I'm just kind of curious.
Well, here, Joel, you had piece of paper,
Yeah.
250 pieces of paper, 250 resumes versus a video resume profile. What are you going to watch first? What are you going to, you're going to watch the video, or are you going to?
Bottom line, yeah. Watch the video, and if it's great, won't even look at all those resumes.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're going to pick up the phone and call them.
Right.
There
Because
you
I've
go.
I already kind of know them.
Well, you can tell a lot by someone just by their video, right?
Yeah.
If they're looking in the camera, if they got good sound and lighting, if they were thoughtful about it. How you do anything is how you can do everything, right?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I would totally encourage that. It's sales. You're your own recruiter, Nobody can sell you better than you. You got to be aggressive with the follow-up, with the outreach. 80% of calls go to voicemail. 80% of jobs come from networking, and 80% of jobs are not posted. So you just got to get out there and bang your drum and just be politely persistent. And I like to sell to Vito, the very important top officer, because he will push you down to who you need to talk to. Right? Right?
Yeah, that's old school sales, right? Start with the decision maker.
Well, there's a book called Selling to Vito, and I read it a long time ago, and that's how I sell. And the whole thing is that everybody's busy, nobody has any time. And if you say, hey, do you have 2 minutes? Everyone's got 2 minutes. Do you have 5 minutes? Everyone's got 5. No one's got 10, right?
Right. So don't ask
if you can get them on the phone and you already have your video resume, you have your script, your first shot off the bow, and just say, hey, what can I take off your plate in the first 30 days? That's music to the hiring manager. Like, wow.
Yeah. Good point, man. Good point. And then for the employers that are looking to hire, what's the takeaway that you want them to know?
Takeaway is, hey, listen, you have been posting jobs and you've got resumes. They're probably scattered all over or in a file. What if you could organize them all in one place and keep them updated? And next time you need to hire, you just post a job and it automatically matches the candidates. Wow. And it saves you on a recruiting fee, and it saves you time, energy, and money. You can never get time back, but if it could just save you time looking through all those resumes. And how many times have you found a perfect candidate that had applied like 3 weeks ago? You finally got to it and they're gone. They're gone. Like, they were perfect, but I missed it because I just didn't have the energy. I just wanted to take the day off or take my Sunday and watch NFL football, right? I didn't want to work, right? It's a lot of work hiring people. It's like a full-time job.
Yeah, it is for a lot of people. Yeah.
Well, that's why they hire me.
Yeah, there you go. So, man, this was good. A lot of good information. And we laugh about how it used to be back in the days. Remember getting the old newspaper and you having to go page by page and try to circle this one, circle that one.
Yeah.
How far
So
we
I
come.
started. I was doing reverse lookups on fax numbers from the Sunday AJC classified. Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah, and now we got like 16 plus million people at your fingertips, right?
yeah.
And I use it every day.
Okay.
And then with the company directory, you can search for the companies around where you live by industry and size and whatnot to find the perfect avatar and when you click on a company, it's got their whole internal directory there. And it's just growing and growing. And the more people use it, it's a community that's populated and updated and maintained by its users, big data and AI.
Right. Hey, let me ask you one other thing real quick. And I meant to bring this up earlier. You mentioned about the community. And like you said, a lot of social media and other things now, it's more so people linking up with people that they have some commonality with. So in the platform itself, you have this huge community of people. Is it where they could communicate with each other about, hey, I heard about a job opening at so-and-so? Is it like that as well? It has those features? Okay.
Yeah. So the school, SKOOL.com,
Okay.
is owned by Alex Hermosi.
Okay.
who's a big internet star, I guess. He owns a private equity firm. They do about $250 million a year in revenue. He bought this company. And I went out to see him. And what he said was, the school is the Amazon.com of communities. And in the future, the internet's going to be a community based, platform where everyone goes to be within their community. So inside of school, you have the chat, you got a
Okay.
calendar where you can have Zoom. They even provide their own web hosting tool so you can post your comments, you can network with everybody in the community and instant message. And there's over 20 million people on the entire school platform, and they did over $1 billion in sales in 2025. So you can sell your knowledge and your expertise, and there's a lot of different ways to do that.
Wow. Okay.
It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So, all right. Well, we covered a lot of ground, Gus, and I didn't even know about the side of the platform. I mean, I knew about SageData, but I didn't know really what it was.
Right.
So thank you for sharing that and really helping, because that's a whole nother audience of people for us to talk to, or you to talk to, I should say, related to the employer side of it, as opposed to just the employee side of it. So I think that's very powerful.
Yeah,
But
you build your hiring bench. That's what you're
yeah,
doing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and have that data readily accessible. So
Because how much money did you spend to get that resume? I mean, how much is a job posting? What is it, $450? I mean,
Yeah.
if you spend, if you got 10 postings, that's $4,500 a month,
Yeah.
right? You want to save those resumes.
right.
So all
That is the oil. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is the oil. Yeah, without a doubt. So, all right. Well, Gus, it's been great. Stick around for a second. I want to catch up on a couple of other things. But for all of us joining us today, all of you joining us today, we want to thank you so much for being here with the Mornings with Joel CRE podcast. Of course, this was a little divergence from what we normally do, but I think it was very, very valuable information. Hopefully you learned something from it. So for Gus and myself, thank you so much for being here today. We look forward
Thank
to seeing
you.
you next week.
Thanks,
Have a great
guys.
afternoon. Thank you.